big story that we're tracking at this hour, of course, is Karnataka government's call to move Delhi or Chalo Delhi. This is, of course, in opposition to the fact that Karnataka government maintains there is disparity when it comes to distribution of revenues, distribution of grants to states, and particularly Karnataka. My colleague Sridharan joining us here on the show. Shri, good morning.
Morning.
I think it is a story that has been building for a while now. Sridharan, after constant appeals to the people and to the central government to give us more money, give us more budgetary allocation, is now finally taking to the protest route. He is going to be in perhaps Delhi today and is also hoping a lot of people from Karnataka, Kannadigas join him here to tell the central government, and he's also said regardless of which party is in the centre, it is a problem that states have to face, which is not enough revenues trickles down to states' coffer, and we want the central government to take note.
Right. So, Shweta, first off, I think there's a little bit of the Saas Bahu drama, the federal version of it playing at the national political scenario. Now, as far as the states, gripe that the centre is not giving them enough money, I mean, that is actually settled by the Finance Commission. Now, Finance Commission is not a committee appointed by the Finance Minister, but by the President of India. It's a constitutional body which makes recommendations on what the revenue share should be between the centre and the state. And there are multiple criteria the Finance Commission employs to ensure one thing, that there is equitable, not equal, but equitable distribution of taxes with state. What do I mean by equitable? What is the difference between equal and equitable? Equitable means that if there is a state which is poor for a reason, but has a large population, that there is enough resources which are put in that state so it can be brought to a acceptable national standard of living. Right. So that is what I mean by equity. So it's not a question of equal distribution of income tax. That cannot be possible. So if I were to explain to our viewers from a very simple example which most of us would understand from a joint family point of perspective. Let's say, you and I are siblings in a family and you make, let's say, more than I do. You have one child, I have two children. So now in a family, it can't be said that one of my children should go hungry. Right?
Absolutely.
Just because I earn less than you, it doesn't mean that one of my children should not get fed. Because that's how the government looks at it. It's looking at the equity. What does it take to bring the entire population, not just the people of Karnataka, not just the people of Rajasthan, not just the people of Bihar, but everyone? How do we raise the standard of living, bring them out of poverty?
Right.
So that's essentially the spirit with which the Finance Commission makes its recommendation. There are multiple weightages, there are multiple indicators, factors, weightages attached to it. And there is also incentive for states to start improving their own performance, like in terms of tax collection, population control. So it's a fairly complex arithmetic which goes behind the devolution of taxes.
Absolutely. But this is a long-standing debate, Shri, and I think it's important to put this in context. A lot of states, including Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Kerala, have been of the opinion that why should we, states which have higher per capita GDP, which put out or send out more revenues, collect more revenues, bear the financial burden of Bimaru states, your traditionally Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand states that haven't done so well. So why should we bear the burden of rest of the states which are not doing too well? So that is one part of the debate. The other part of the debate, of course, is that there is a long contention that the central government also has a say to what extent a state gets its budgetary allocation. So with non-central government ruling states, in this case non-BJP ruling states, often miss out. What do you tell these people?
Okay, so I'll take the latter part of your question first and come to the first part later. Now, if you look at Karnataka, which was the government in power from 2019-2023? It was a BJP government.
That is true.
So if Mr. Yedurappa or if Mr. Bommai wanted, they could have just picked up the phone and told Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, Madam, kindly send us another 10,000 crore rupees. But as a finance minister explained, it is not her discretionary power. You can't just randomly call up the finance minister and say that you want more money and that money will be transferred to your account. It doesn't work like that. There is a constitutional provision and there are rules that you need to follow as a finance minister for the very reason that it takes your personal discretion out of the equation. That there is equity, there is fairness, there is transparency in allocation of resources to states. So that is one reason. So that's easily explained that for the last 5 years or 4 years from 2019-2023, it was a BJP in power. And Congress, in fact, has made fun of the fact back then when it was fighting election, saying that it's a double-engine sarkar that doesn't work for Karnataka.
Okay.
Right? So that is settled then, that even BJP government which was in power in Karnataka could not get more than what it was, due from the center. Okay, so that issue is settled. Now you talked about the states questioning, the southern states in particular questioning,
The northern
why is it
states,
that
huh?
when we are generating more taxes, our GDP is higher than the northern states, why should we not get a larger share of the revenue? Well, from an arithmetic point of view, that's a solid argument.
Absolutely.
But morally, from a federal spirit, it's a totally wrong argument. Like I'll go back to my example of a joint family. If you want to live in a joint family, if you want the family as a whole to prosper, Shweta, you cannot say that, okay, why is like my husband who's making much more money than your husband, why is he getting discriminated? Because that's the spirit of federalism. That's the spirit of a nation that comes into play. And when you're a prime minister, the finance minister, union minister, you're not looking at whether, it's like a person in Tamil Nadu or in Bengal you are looking at the country in its entirety.
Okay.
You have X amount of resources that come into your pool every year because of your taxes, non-tax receipts and everything. And you have to look at an equitable way of distributing these resources.
Which may essentially also will entail sometimes high revenue earning states bearing the burden for states which are not.
That is how it works.
However unfair it seems, but
and
it's
it's
good
not
for
just
the growth
India.
and
It's not just India,
equitable.
Shweta. There are states in our countries around the world. US, let's take US for example. I mean, we know that the coastal states in the US are the engines. I mean, if California were a country, it would probably, rank higher than many countries, right? So now California cannot turn around and say, okay, why am I contributing to the US exchequer? I should be doing it because, all the money should be retained here. But that's not how it works. When you're part of a federal system, that's your responsibility as a state, that you have to contribute in the spirit of the nation for everyone's good, not just your own good.
All right, and before we move on, obviously the BJP government has criticized this move, calling it another antic from a state which is run by the Congress party, and a Chalo Delhi, call to protest. How effective is it, Sridharan? How do you see this panning out? Will it have any political ramifications at all?
Well, see, this is a political season. You have the Lok Sabha elections coming up in April. So the opposition party has to do it. So now it is more than just economics, Shweta, because what is also happening at another level, this is a political, kind of a debate, which I'm sure we are taking up on the channel in other shows as well, which is the fact that the non-BJP parties are also coming together to convey to the people that BJP is a North India party. It's a northern party which is taking care of only of the interest of the northern states, which obviously is not true. Because when you're in government at the center, when you're running the whole of India, exactly, you're following the constitutional provisions.
Absolutely.
And in this case, when it comes to taxes, very clearly the 15th Finance Commission, whose final report was tabled in 2021 February. Okay, so this has been there. The provisions have been there for the last 3 years. But if the states have woken up and decided to contest this right now, it's obviously because there's an opportune time they see where they can make a case for themselves and maybe gain some political ground. But whether the voters or the people of India see merit in it is up to them, because they are ultimately the deciders. The Prime Minister yesterday said that they are the avatars of gods almost. So who they bless is up to their understanding and how they see this fight between the opposition and the government. But as far as the data and as far as the provisions are concerned, there's no doubt about it that the allocations are driven by the Finance Commission recommendations. There's a formula that the Finance Minister needs to stick to. And even in terms of grants and aid, and allocation for the allocations, it depends on you submitting your DPRs for specific projects, if it's a project, or grants in aid, you're spending your existing grants. Right, you can't go back and say that's much more. In the case of Karnataka, Shweta, obviously there's a fiscal pressure on the state because of the revenues are like not enough to meet the new guarantee scheme that the state has announced.
Right.
So they are definitely under pressure. But I think can the finance minister in her wisdom violate the norms of? I don't think she has the flexibility. And also there are, the same Finance Commission has also laid down what should be the state fiscal deficit. So 3% is what the agreed level is for states. So now can you exceed that? Maybe under extraordinary circumstances, if you have a famine, you have a disaster, those are perfectly fair scenarios under which you can do it. But business as usual, I think you have to stick to and honor to the commitments you've made.
Absolutely. Finance Minister in fact says not viable to tinker with the Finance Commission formula. This is a political season, which means of course political calls from all gallows of society will be seen. This seems like another opportune moment from Karnataka government at this point in time. Just a year ago from now, this was the same call from West Bengal government. So of course, states versus center when it comes to revenue sharing formula and agreement continues to be a hot topic for many months now.